Oh, that's actually fast. We're here.
Well, looking at the Malphite again, right, and also looking at a deep dive onto Team Sequence lineup, I actually do have a little bit more bias towards Fiora being picked up instead of a Malphite, because if you look at Sequence lineup, their lineup is pretty capable of dealing in kind of like a 4v4, 4v5 scenario. Although, yes, alas, they might not win, but it should be able to hold out pretty well. So I do think that if they were to pick up a Fiora against the Camille in the Baron lane, it would be able to be a really good 1v1 fight, as long as the riposte lands on top of the Camille and then just go for the Grand Challenge, pop the vitals of this Camille, is an easy win for the side of Fiora, and follow through with some more split pushing potential. That is the goal that I can see from Sequence if they pick up the Fiora, but in this case, they went out for Malphite. It's still possible, but I don't have too much hopes onto that any kinds of split pushing potential. Sequence looks a lot more like a front-to-back kind of initiating style of gameplay.
That makes a lot of sense, actually, because if you think about it, there is a lot more difficulty if you try to go for that 1v1 matchup. It could also mean that Sequence's Malphite here doesn't want deal with that hot potato. That is how good Court of War is in that top lane or in that Baron lane by himself. And having a Malphite leaves gives you that safety barrier that you don't really have to go in. And speaking of going in, Scarlet Bell is going to be in a bad situation, but once again, Fake AD, he's going to be in no man's land here, has to back off as his teammate JW also forced to flash away, but there's no tankiness on this man, and they're still not done just yet. Wild Boar is hot on the heels of Fake AD, and through that flash, through that dash, it's still not going to connect, and he just executes him. The 2-for-none exchange, and Impunity strike first.
Fake AD almost managed to get that Void Seeker down onto the Rakan. The HP was so darn low, but alas, there was just too much real estate to move around and just kind of dodge away from that Void Seeker. In fact, it's not even a dodge anymore at the point of time. It really just, it's just movements. It's just generic movement. If that Void Seeker was casted a little bit earlier, then I would believe that there could be less ways that Rakan would be able to get away, and it would at least be able to favor a Sequence by 1 point and just kind of tilt the favor to their sides a little bit more instead of an all-out 2-0 lose from that previous fight. But in the meantime, take a look up top. It does seem like we do have the hashtag ultimatum right on top of Leroy, and like I was saying before, all the Cataclysm is even used onto Leroy, but for now, they still is unable to bring down Leroy, and like we talked before, failed initiations and failed ganks on top of Malphite just because of how tanky he is. And down bottom lane again, we do have the Kai'Sa as well as Alistar being brought down, and back up top. That is going to be relentless assault coming in from Impunity, getting themselves kills from up and down everywhere. It was a mistake from Malphite indeed to just stay in the lane and allow the opponents to just dive right on top of you. Assault battery being used right in the middle lane. We do have 5-point strike coming in from Soul, followed by following it back up. The Mega Inferno Bomb cleans it all up right on top of this Akali. A lot has happened. Let's break it down a little bit more.
Alright, there's a lot that happened on all the lanes actually. So I'll talk about first with the duo lane. Fake AD and JW. Again, this particular match, or this particular lineup for them, I really like it. But there is a point where they have to try and play safer, because there's no amount of safety for this Kai'Sa. Yes, you can have your Alistar to peel away from you, but he puts himself in a bad spot where he will be basically a sacrifice for the Kai'Sa to get out of harm's way, which it seems like Impunity wants to keep forcing the issue. If it was a Braum, there would be a good counter to the Xayah, but there's not, and there's just going to be like a punching bag for JW here. Still, we're going to be fighting immediately outside of the Dragon Pit, as it's just a kerfuffle from both sides. Fake AD is being pushed out. Lots of heals, lots of attacking ability. And look at the dive in here from Court of War. He is just fearless, flashing over, wanting to chase down onto Fake AD. And there's the wave to take all of them down. Cyrez, not having enough damage, will not be able to hit with the bouncing bombs. And that is the Infernal Drake, taken by Impunity by sheer will, by sheer show of force. And even through the ultimate, Cyrez cannot steal it.
that is just a really sad play coming in from Sequence. They tried to contest for the Infernal Drake, but did not realize just how strong Impunity were when it comes to just turning 180 degrees and sending hell to the faces of Team Sequence. And just like that, we are looking at a massive gold lead from Impunity, even though they have only gotten themselves with a single turret down up top. Bottom lane though, it is going to be a little bit of a lane swapping thing going on about. Camille head down to the bottom lane and so will Alistar. So their 1v1 matchup is not gonna end just yet. There is going to be more real estate for Impunity to farm at the top lane, or perhaps lesser real estate for Sequence to farm because of the amount of map control that Impunity might have. But take a look at this. We do have Twilight Strike coming in from Soil, trying to get himself away from all of that. But it does seem like we do have the Dimension Standard coming in from the Jump in the Fourth. Jumps right in, manages to get himself 2 kills and followed it up with a 3 right on top of this Vi. Sequence did not see that coming. Ziggs was trying to get himself poked in for a little bit and just, okay, nope, bye-bye, kind of thing going on about.
That was just... You can see that Sequence is forcing these fights way too often. They are desperate to get any form of advantage that they wanted, that they need, that they might want. But if we actually see the item board or the scoreboard, I think Swirl just tanked everything. Oh my goodness. Yeah, even without having his full item, he just had, like, I believe a Mercury Treads or something there. And he was able to absorb 3 full-blown abilities of Sequence's members and still able to survive, baiting for his teammates to come in and go for that play. After that punish that Sequence did get, they did get 1 kill, but that's just a fadeaway kill. That's a consolation prize to the skirmish that Impunity got, and Impunity was also able to get the Rift Herald in turn, which means they have so much more threat presence here. They can give it to somebody, they can use it in another lane while they force themselves on a dragon. It's about to come up, if I'm not mistaken, and they're gonna be just pretty primed to start getting more control around the map.
Yeah, it is going to be no problems for Impunity to bring down the middle, or perhaps even getting themselves in front of Drake. But in the meantime, take a look at that. We do have the hashtag ultimatum trying to be posted down onto Sequence. Not gonna be doing much though. But one thing's for sure, 1 man down from Impunity, and they forced down a fight in the middle by dropping the Rift Herald. Instead of saving the Rift Herald to kind of put immediate priority in the middle lane as they do the Infernal Drake, Impunity had that much confidence. They do not need that Rift Herald to kind of distract their opponents. They can take Sequence head on. So they would rather increase their lead early on in the game. They'd rather have that early map dominance to suffocate Sequence while the Drake is not up yet. So I do like that interesting approach coming in from Impunity. They are confident and thus they made that very decision. Is it going to be falling back on them? I highly doubt so because of that 10,000 goal lead.
Yeah, and I mean, to add to that, Impunity, I think they just didn't want the numbers disadvantage. Sequence, after that kill in Court of Law is a crucial fact of the front line and the initiate for Impunity's team. If they just use that Rift Herald to stop the momentum if Sequence is setting up, that makes a lot more sense because Sequence couldn't really follow after they lost that mid-tier 1. In any case, Impunity here, as they start to regroup as a full 4, as Court of Law is split pushing on the other side of the map, they are setting up for this dragon already, and Impunity really just controlling the pace of this game. You can see members of Sequence are just gonna try to play around the angle of their own jungle where they know Impunity isn't at, but the risk to this, they're basically giving big objectives to Impunity while they don't really have any form of income. Because usually you'd see lesser teams, or not really lesser teams, but teams who are on the losing end of a match just give up big objectives, but they also get themselves a bit of avenue where they put either the ADC or the mid lane to get these huge waves that is on the other side of the map, which we haven't really seen, but they are trying to feed fake AD as much of the jungle camp as they can. Although I'm not really sure if that's the best way to give them that income, but still, at least Sequence do have something around that regard. But Wild Boar about to spot fake AD here.
It is going to be an easy take coming from Impunity, but hold on a second. There's a really good dash coming in from this Kai'Sa. The amount of movement speed that Kai'Sa did manage to get herself for that is allows him to run away from the grasp of Impunity. So it's a really good thing that Fake AD manages to get himself out of that, because the main thing is for Team Sequence to get their Kai'Sa up online, and it's going to take some time. We know that the Baron Nashor is going to be spawned right up top, so the best way is kind of get their Kai'Sa down bottom and not contest for a fight. Just kind of go for the longer game, but they are just forcing this game out, and I don't think that things are gonna be looking good for them at all. We do have Swirl jumping right in, and the perfect execution just brings the buff fight down. It is literally just gonna be a hot knife through butter. We are not looking at the tanky Malphite anymore, because the amount of gold that this Akali has is just a little bit too much for Team Sequence to handle. But alas, after all of that fight, Team Sequence lost too, but Impunity didn't just walk away as grand victor, because they walked away with most of their members in critical health. So it does seem like Sequence definitely still had ways to counterplay against Impunity. There are definitely ways that they can come back into the game, provided that they allow Kai'Sa to go online. They need to give Kai'Sa more farm instead of forcing fights out.
That's a very difficult statement to kind of answer for Sequence. There's obviously that point where they need to keep this Kai'Sa fed, where they need to give her avenues of income, but the big thing about that is exactly this. There is no chance that Impunity will allow that to happen. They know that Fake AD is a big threat. They know that they took so much damage, and if they proceed longer with this game, if they proceed to allow Fake AD to find the ways to get some gold, get his items online, it's going to be very, very risky. JW is going to be checking onto the side here, as Wrath is going to be into the front line. XQC, sorry, Sequence just goes right in. This is the perfect time for them to mount this comeback. Wild Wars into the front line here, and where is Fake AD onto the backside as well? It's not going to be too good. He dove deep too in, and Fake AD has nobody to help him out. Just way too salty, way too greedy from the ADC of Sequence, and they paid the ultimate price. That should have been Sequence getting the one up, but Fake AD deep diving too much into enemy backline.
That was greedy indeed, but I suppose no pain, no gain. For Team Sequence, the Kai'Sa really looked out for the opportunity to bring down one of the members coming from Impunity, but unfortunately, Impunity, they are a little bit too sticky, right? Camille identified the current situation, and he knew that Kai'Sa may just launch the killer instinct on the low health members within their team. So Camille took no time to stick right next to his fellow friend, and whenever Kai'Sa jumped right in, the Hexam ultimatum is immediately placed on top of the Kai'Sa, and it is an easy kill. Easy kill. That was just a bait. It's not even like a mistake from Impunity for getting that person, their fellow teammate HP all the way down low. In fact, it is something that they used to leverage against Sequence, and at this point of time, it's just way too much for Sequence to even handle. We're looking at a massive 12,000 gold, or something more than that. I can't math.
It's about
okay,
20.
now it's 20k. Now it's 20k.
Yeah, it's about 20k. Also, not only that, they have the Baron buff here, so each one of their minions will be able to tank these turrets much better, much harder. That's going to allow Impunity here for a lot more threat pressure, and I just do love how they were able to split up the entirety of the map. Able to go in on all lanes, working slowly. Ultimate will be popped by the Ziggs. That'll force them out for a bit of time, but there still is going to be that point where Impunity can just heal it, shrug it off, and damage be done for the blue side team, as Sequence is struggling, just gasping for air. There's not really much that they can do, as it seems like Impunity will try to go in and stop this once and for all. Maybe the last bastion, last stand for Sequence as they're coming outside of the base. A 3-man knockup from Leroy WR, but still is going to be a hairy fight. They do set their sights onto the backline, which is Scarlet Petal, but he's well defended into the back of that line, and you can see once again that Swirl did the same. If you're going to dive your backline, I will do whatever I can to reach your own, and they fall one after the other. Jim has a Guardian Angel, has a Stasis, but it's only going to prolong his life. It's only going to make it worse for Sequence, as that first Nexus broken. Impunity claimed the first match.
Victory!
It is one heck of an easy game for the side of Impunity, unfortunately to say for the side of Sequence, because it does seem like they are unable to hold their own in most of the fights, right? Because ultimately there's just not